Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lights Out Latest. My name is Tristan, and I'm joined by my usual Formula One friends, Marina and Jason. But today, we have a special guest. His name is Josh. He's a member of the Nittany Motorsports team here at Penn State. We're excited to have him on the show. Josh, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm excited to be on here too.
Absolutely. We're
Yeah,
excited to have
so
you.
Josh, yeah, good to have you. If you would just want to do a quick intro on yourself, kind of like, what you're doing here at Penn State, what's your major, any motorsport career goals, and kind of your position on the team.
Yeah, so I'm a fourth year mechanical engineering major, and I've been on the team Nittany Motorsports for all 4 years. Right now, I'm the systems integration lead, so I essentially take all 9 of our subsystems and I make them work as one single team. Um, and so that's a really fun task, and it comes with a lot of challenges, but it's something that I definitely want to apply to maybe some F1 career. I'm unsure about that.
He's dreaming for
Nice.
F1,
And
absolutely.
He's
yeah,
he's got my career aspirations as well. I'm not on the engineering side, but F1 is the dream. And I think Jason had that dream as well. All kind of in the same boat there.
Meanwhile,
that's
me,
awesome.
NASCAR.
He's going to NASCAR. We're gonna have someone in every neck of the woods.
Oh yeah.
Is that
All
a
right.
Dale Coyne racing hat, Josh?
Nope, this is the Penn State. This is our old name. This is an old merch from a few years ago, but it says Penn State Formula Racing on there.
Okay.
So over the summer, we actually rebranded to Nittany Motorsports.
Nice.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know their logo looks a little similar from afar through the video, but for those of us that don't know and our viewers that don't know what Nittany Motorsports is or what Formula Student is, can you kind of describe the competition and the build and what goes into that?
Yeah, so essentially what we do is we take a small scale Formula One car and we design, manufacture, build, and compete it. SAE, the Society of Automotive Engineers, the company puts together this competition in June where universities all over the country and all over the world will come in and go through different design events, design reviews, cost reports, and they're called the switching between two dynamic and static events, essentially, to see who kind of is able to design the best car. And so you have to do everything from finance your team to manufacturing to managing the team and everything in between. So it's a good all around challenge, especially for college students.
And is this? I mean, I was going to school in Dubai, and they have this program called Formula One in schools or something like that. Is this like a similar thing? Are you aware of that? I know that's more like they do that more. I think it's K through 12. But is it like a similar program? Are you aware of that program?
I've never heard of that program before, but I imagine they're more focused on like Formula One as an actual sport and manufacturing those cars. We're more focused on kind of the base engineering practices that you learn in school, other practices like finance and business as well, social media. We have a great social media team, hence why I'm here. Um, and then, yeah, we just do more of the basic engineering stuff.
So the
Cool.
concept is a lot of hands-on. It's mostly hands-on, actually, just doing the concept of building a race car. Whereas, like, there could be another team, like, I don't know, if we had an aerospace team, they'd be building a rocket. But it's the
We do
interest
have an
of
aerospace team.
motorsports. I thought we did. I didn't want to say that we did definitively, but knowing that we did, it's the same concept. It's just that you guys are interested in the motorsports world in general. So, all right, very cool.
Yeah, just the challenge of making a car from scratch, essentially.
Yeah. Now, you say
Is
financing. I didn't mean to cut you off there. But I noticed the car
no,
does have sponsorship on it. Is that on you guys to figure that out? Or is it like school run, like they kind of have connections, they help you guys with that?
it's mainly on us. So the
Okay.
school helps us out a little bit. You'll see a couple different of individual colleges that kind of fund us. I know that I believe it was the dean of engineering. I don't know which one, or someone. A bunch of schools just sponsor us. But many of our sponsors come from what we reach out and we talk to. This year, our main sponsor is Tenneco, or supposedly going to be our main sponsor is Tenneco. They are kind of a big um, conglomerate that does a lot of things. They make Olin shocks, stuff like that. They do a lot of wiring and electronic stuff. So they've been really helpful for us in terms of getting us supplies and getting us experience and stuff like that. But yeah, all the sponsorships are mainly from us.
Wow, that's
communicating with companies. Yeah.
That's really cool.
All right.
Do you work with a lot of those like business functions? Or are you mainly like car build?
In previous years, I was mainly car build, but the reality of the team and the reality of most of the stuff that we do is that you have to be cost conscious, especially with how much building a race car costs. So everyone has to be kind of aware of the financial side of it. We have a whole team, a sub-team dedicated to it, but most, if not everyone, has to be aware of what they're spending their money on.
Are you able to tell us like about how much that cost, or is that kind of under wraps?
The car last year, in just raw material, not counting like manufacturing or software sponsors, I believe was in the range of $60,000.
Wow. Dang.
This year, the car we hope to make, the car that we want to make is somewhere closer to 80,000. Are we going to be able to spend that money? We are unsure right now, but we're working hard to get the money.
So
why is it more expensive this year? Just more advanced aero or suspension, or what is it?
Yeah, it's a mix of like a bunch of the different subsystems. We want to spend money on weight savings. So for weight savings, you got to use, or you'd want to use a lot of titanium and carbon instead of steel. And so a lot of the sub teams want to use some high cost titanium to make their parts. But yeah, it's just more advanced features, more advanced manufacturing processes and stuff like that.
when it comes to the construction of the car, obviously you have to like there's fundamental, there's distributors, there's suppliers in terms of parts and whatnot. Like for example, I could go to Harbor Freight today and probably put together a go-kart engine within 30 minutes. And now, is there any fabrication within the club itself that you guys can manufacture your own parts and actually put it together, or is it all outsourced?
We do a lot of the manufacturing ourselves, actually. This year, we usually do it at the Learning Factory on campus, or the new, I guess it's the new EDI building is what it's called now. That's not completely up and running yet, so we're kind of stalled on being able to manufacture. But most of the parts, like the entire body of the car, we lay up all the carbon, we do that entire thing. Most of the welding on the car is done by us, and a large portion of the CNC machining, lathe machining and stuff like that is all done by us as well.
Nice. Yeah,
I'm
I mean, I
just
figured
curious,
mechanical engineering.
what does a season or like a timeline look like for you guys? Like when do you guys start thinking about this kind of project, start staffing your team, and when does, the final, I want to say competition, but I don't know if that's the right word, happen?
Yeah, so we usually start in the summer. It's mainly returning members that come back over the summer onto Zoom or team meetings, whatever it happens to be, where you start worrying about like the design and goals. So that starts in late June, runs all the way up to August until the semester starts. The involvement fair is where we get an influx of new members for us. So we get a bunch of freshmen, sophomores, mainly, just because they're more likely to come and join the team because they have more years left at the university. And so then we get into design and manufacturing throughout the 2 semesters, a lot more design in the fall semester, a lot more manufacturing in the spring. And then competition is mid-June. So we go out to Michigan, and we compete against all the other universities out at the Michigan International Speedway.
So really like a whole 10-month process to get this all together in time.
Yep, we operate on we call it a 1-year design cycle. So it's a new car every year, and you go right back to the drawing board after competition.
Gotcha. And now on run days and competition day, what does that look like for you and the team? Like what challenges are there? What different scoring are you up against, and what parts are you entered in?
Yeah, so the competition is a hectic time for our team, as you can imagine. Usually we get there, and the first thing you have to do is you have to pass all the safety inspections, because obviously these are student-built cars, so there has to be some sort of inspection by professionals to make sure these are able to be run safely. So you have to go through and make sure for the EV competition, which we compete in, you have to make sure that the battery is built correctly up to spec. SAE releases a set of rules every year that has all of the mandated safety and security stuff, all the minimum requirements that you have to hit and stuff like that. So they go through and they check all those rules against your battery. They do the same thing mechanically in terms of all the bolts are correct, all the welds are right, all the minimum specs of the car are up to par. And then they go through safety shutdown circuits where they test if your car is able to shut off in the event of something going wrong, a wire cutting or something grounding that's not supposed to be grounding. And so that's the first 2 days of competition. And then you also have to go through, those are called the static tech inspections, and you have to go through the dynamic tech inspections. Those are, you have to make sure that your car is able to tilt. They put your car on a platform and they tilt it, I believe up to 60 degrees to make sure that your center of gravity is low enough that the car will not tip over in the event that it kind of goes sideways. And then you have to do a rain inspection to make sure that your car won't short if it encounters any rain, because we're obviously running outside and it will probably get wet. So they put you under a handmade shower, essentially, and they just douse your car in water for 2 minutes, and then they make sure it starts. And then the last one is brakes. They make you rev up your car, drive down a set space, and then make sure all 4 of your brakes lock if you have to slam on the brakes. So those 4 safety inspections take up the first 2 days, 2 to 2.5 days of competition. And then if you're able to get through all those, you get to the events where you can either do, you have 2 sets of events. You have the static and the dynamic events. And so the dynamic events are what everyone knows about, or most people know about from the competition. Their acceleration runs a 75-meter track that you just straight shot as fast as you can. You have skid pad, which is a figure 8, so you can check the turning radius of the car and how well it corners, essentially. And then you got just a regular autocross course, a couple laps around there, or you got a couple of laps around that to see who has the fastest time. And then you have the static events. Sorry?
Do you guys have like a designated driver? So is that like pre-selected, or is that one of you guys?
Yeah, it's usually one of us. It depends on the way we run the team is that the people that put in the most work into kind of getting the car up and running, they usually get to drive the most and first, just because we like to have people who put a lot of work in the car operate the car first. And usually because the people who put the most work into the car understand the car the best, so they're able to push it to its limits.
I wonder if like any of those people, they're so interested in just the engineering side. Like, let's say top dog, he puts the most hours into the car, all that, but he doesn't care about driving it. Could he like just pass it off to somebody else if he wanted to? All right, Fair enough. Okay. Huh.
Yeah. This past year, whenever we were testing, I was supposed to drive at competition, but this past year, whenever we were testing, I didn't want to have to drive the car, just because I wanted to let other people have the opportunity. So just let other people drive the car, see who's best, see who can do it. And it's pretty fun to drive the car, so get as many people through there as we could.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it looks like a souped up go-kart with all the wings and stuff. It looks pretty awesome.
I want to just show our people real quick. I got these images from you guys' website. I thought it was super cool. This is kind of what it looks like. Is this last year's car?
So this is this past year's car, yeah.
Very cool.
That's us at competition. So the top one with the pink and black, that is last year's car. That's us working on it in the paddock, and the same thing with the bottom right picture and the cutout picture from the side. Last year we did a black and pink theme because we were rebranding to EV, so we wanted to kind of pay homage to Penn State's original colors, since we were starting in our eyes a new team essentially. And then the bottom left picture is our car from 2 years ago. That was our last internal combustion car for our team.
What type of engines in the internal combustion?
We use a Yamaha R6.
Nice. I also noticed on your rear wing you had Tesla on there. Do you use any Tesla drivetrain or batteries, or is that just there to be there?
So last year Tesla was our title sponsor, and that's why I was big
Wow,
on the rear
really?
wing.
Dang.
So they actually do EV sponsors for batteries. They gave us $5,000 to go out and they could either give us their select batteries if we use them, or they give us $5,000 to go and use other batteries from any other company. So we ended up taking that $5,000 and used them to buy all our battery packs.
Damn, that's
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. I noticed
That's so cool.
the car wasn't actually on proper jack stands. You guys had it on just an extra set of tires. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, whenever we got to get the car up on all fours, but not too high off the ground, we use our other set of tires to kind of prop it up.
Fair enough. I saw
That's
there were
great.
Hoosier tires
And I-
too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm sure these
Hoosiers
Hoosiers is the
connections.
big sponsor for the
Yeah.
competition.
I'm sure these
Yeah.
connections are also great for you guys. Long term. Meeting people in the industry that you guys work at. What's it like? I'm curious to what some of your favorite moments have been. Is your favorite days these competition days, or is it the days that you're grinding to try and get it done right before, or what's it like?
Yeah, fun's favorite memory is an interesting way to put it, but yeah, I guess I would put those as my favorite memories. We call those, or we refer to them in the team and amongst leadership as Type 2 fun. Something that in the moment wasn't the greatest. Those long nights in the shop, or long days at competition, but looking back on them, you look back on them pretty fondly. Great memories, some stuff that you'll never forget for the rest of your life for sure.
100%.
All right.
Well,
That's pretty awesome. You could
Yeah.
gel together as a team and pull something off like that. I'm sure. I mean, I've looked at other universities, the cars they have, and Penn State definitely seems to seem one of the more advanced ones.
Yeah, so actually I was going to say something. How many teams will be there on competition day at Michigan?
It's anywhere for the IC competition. It used to be upwards of 100. For EV, it's still
Wow.
kind of a young group. So I think in the past few years, it's been somewhere between 60 and 70.
That's still a big number, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there.
Nice.
There's a
And
lot
how
of
does Penn
schools.
State fare in the competition days?
Yeah, I got to ask that too.
Well, whenever we were running IC, we were a little bit better because we knew what we were doing. So we would place top 25. We placed 28th our last time as an IC team. Last year being our first EV competition, didn't fare so well. Although not very many people fare so well. Only I believe only like 13 teams passed the safety inspections. So
Wow.
we got up to the last one and we just missed out on it. So
Dang.
Oh,
That's all
that
right.
was sad. That was
yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
It was. But
was the-
it brought the team together closer than it ever has been, I don't think, because we all want to hit the ground running this year and really do well in next year's competition.
100%. I was going to ask you that actually. How many teams usually made it through the safety part of it? You mentioned like 100 teams. How many of those 100, barring last year, usually made it through?
About the year before that, I think it was like 8.
Oh,
Wow.
So this year was 13. Hopefully next year the number's a little bit bigger, and Penn State's included in that group.
Dang.
Yeah, we got a lot
hopefully.
of confidence
It'll
in
be
you
awesome.
guys. I'm sure you guys will do great. I don't know if Jason, you have any other questions for him. I know you're feeling a bit under the weather, so we don't want to keep you too long. If you have anything you want to add, anything you want to shout out to our viewers, or maybe an Instagram handle or anything that you'd like them to like or follow.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, we have our website. If you just Google Nittany Motorsports, that takes you to our website, and that has a lot of the information, especially on how to join. And then our Instagram is at Nittany Motorsports. So if you want to go give that a follow, that would be great. I'm sure our outreach lead would love that.
100%.
Awesome.
Doing it
Thank
now.
you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Josh.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Josh.
100%.
Awesome. I'm excited to see how the team does this year.
Oh, we'll keep you guys posted. Maybe I'll be back on here afterward to let you guys know.
Sure.
Oh, we would love to have you back, Ben.
We
Be back
might need
on,
some guest
um,
content out in Michigan. Who knows? We might need to send one of us out there.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty cool.
It would be a plus.
live coverage for our audience, 100%.
A live coverage.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm gonna sign off. Let you guys get to the rest of it.
No problem.
No
Thank
problem.
you, Josh.
See you around.
Appreciate you. All right.
That was really fun. Thank you, Jason, for getting him on. That was so fun. As our viewers know, we haven't had an F1 race this weekend. So you might be wondering, well, your guest just signed off. You have like 20 minutes left. What are you gonna do? We've decided to take a little page out of the Today's Sports playbook, and we're gonna do a That's Clipped. I've seen the videos, Jason and Tristan have not. And we're just gonna play. I'm gonna play 3 videos for you guys to get a bit of a reaction on these things. 2 of them are on track things, and the other 2 are not.
I'm ready.
Let me get
Locked in.
Yeah. All right. Let me get it.
All right, what we got?
All right, here's our That's Clip.
Yeah.
This clip is from Formula One. This is 2021 Hungaroring.
Bowling.
Oh my God, yeah.
Bottas went bowling.
But actually, that was not that part of, or the strangest part of this race. We had bowling, and then there was a red flag, and conditions improved drastically. Everybody was like, "Well, is it raining? Is it not? Are we going to slicks?" So this. I'll let you guys like live react to it. I don't want to spoil the fun.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And,
I mean, I saw highlight again. This was back in the day when I was just not watching races. All I said was highlights. So like, I didn't really get a live opportunity to react. Yeah, because it's when Hamilton. Yeah.
Everybody else went to the pits, and this knocked Hamilton, dead last because everybody had pitted, while he's just losing time sitting on the grid. But I just thought that was like a cool little clip. Something that's which is crazy to say.
I can't believe Mercedes dropped the strategy that race that bad. Hamilton chose to stay out for the restart. Everybody said no restart. We're going to the pits onto new tires, and
so
yikes.
Hamilton's on slicks there, or no? Is he on the rain tires? He's on the rain tires still.
Intermediate wet tires.
I'm just trying to remember correctly.
Yeah. So it's like it stopped raining during the red flag, and he's decided to go. He stayed on inters, thinking it's going to be too wet, and the whole grid was like, "It's definitely too dry for inters. Let's go to slick tires," which was the right call. Sometimes it's not the right call, but in this case, it was the right call, and they barely saved it.
I don't want to be armchair general here, but even just looking at this picture here, that asphalt looks dry. I see no puddles, no nothing. So yeah, that's crazy. I remember seeing this on the Instagram.
100%. It does look. It was pretty dry, and I think they were actually able to save his result. He did score. I think he went on to score points in this race. But it was a fight.
It just shows impressive how Lewis Hamilton is.
Yeah, 100%. And we're actually, I have a bit of a segment that we will talk about later on where we talk about Lewis and we'll talk about Max and some of the other champions. This last one is kind of homage to this coming week, and I'm sorry if it's a
Danny Rick. The most American non-American I've ever encountered, I think.
He doesn't have this weekend when I am there. I'll be devastated.
Hey,
he's got to do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
He always shows up in some sort of U.S. where I think one time he showed up in a Texas university, basketball jersey.
Yeah, UT Austin.
Yeah,
it's his favorite.
Awesome. He embraces Texas.
He does. He loves it so much. And I think Jason I think you mentioned this in our group chat, or maybe it was Tristan, that his favorite teams, he loves UT Austin and he loves the Bills, the Buffalo Bills. He's
Yep.
really like a Texas person. He loves it. And actually, one of our like news that I guess we can talk about now, since we're on the topic of Daniel Ricciardo, Daniel was in Nashville this week, and he did a show run. The little bit of good news that I took from that was that he didn't seem in any pain driving. And again, you're at slow speeds, you got very little G forces, and you're in an older car. He was not in the RB19, so you'd never know. But at least he seemed good to me, and he was in very high spirits. He loves it down there.
Oh yeah, he had a blast. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on a positive note, just like you're saying, it seemed like he was very relaxed, very calm. So obviously, nothing but positive in that aspect. Looking towards Austin. But yeah, I mean, just to see him riding around, even if it was a little show run, it was very cool, and he looked healthy. So life is good, hopefully.
A lot of drivers, one of their favorite countries to visit, I've heard in the past, is the US, because they used to be anonymous here. Like they'd walk here and not be crowded for photos. But now they
Yeah.
are, because they drive to survive. And, some drivers do visit and have homes. I think Jenson Button, 2009 Formula One world champion, he has a house in California. Lewis always loves to post whenever he's in New York.
Yeah, I think he's
And
from New
then,
York, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
I just
So, I
love
mean, they love
how.
Daniel here.
Yeah, I love how Danny
And now
has
they're
like
here
found
3
a
times a
home.
year. So
Yeah, 3 times a year. I
It's
just love how
crazy. It's so
Danny has found a home in like that Texas lifestyle because I don't have the personal. You actually probably have the best connection to it, Marina, because you live in Texas. But like,
yeah.
it's so close to Australia. Like the vibe, you know what I mean? It's just almost the
Yeah, a
Wild
bit.
West, exactly.
It's not, I mean, there's like this, like I was living in the city, I was living in Houston. So in Houston, it's city, it's imagine any big city. It's like that, but
Yep.
there's definitely, if you go maybe 45 minutes, an hour out of the city, closer to where I was at, I was a little bit outside of the city. You do get a lot of farms, you get a lot of farmland, and not everywhere in Australia, obviously, because you also have those big cities in Australia, but specifically where I believe Daniel is from and where he spends a lot of his time, it is more of that country life. And I think he just found a little bit of home there. And he just loves the cowboy hats. He loves the barbecue, the food. And they just have a great time down in Austin. And I'm actually hoping to go to one of his favorite spots and like fingers crossed see him this weekend. So we'll see if I get down there in the city center of Austin. I've heard multiple drivers talking about this barbecue restaurant. So let's see if we can.
What's it called?
I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I feel so bad. I should have it with me, but I cannot remember it off the top of my head. I even looked like last week if I could get like a reservation, but they don't do reservations. I was like, damn it. So I have to leave the track, like go running to see if I can get there. But we'll see. It'll probably be really full because, like I said, multiple drivers have talked about it. So everybody's gonna be like, I want to go to this place so I can try and spot a driver. But anyways, let's go to our like next kind of thing that I want to talk about. As we all know, last weekend Max was crowned champion, and a lot of reports and a lot of ex-drivers, Formula One and other categories, have discussed whether or not this puts him into the GOAT category. 3 consecutive championships, and he has a lot of records to his name. He's the youngest ever driver to start a race, youngest driver to score points, youngest race winner, most consecutive wins, most wins in a single season, most podiums in a season, most points in a season. And on the other hand, you have Lewis. He's the most tied for most championships with Schumacher. He's got the most wins ever, most points, most consecutive race starts, most consecutive points finishes, most pole positions, most podiums. They're very different style records, in my opinion. And I want to know what you guys think. Do the Max ones show that he was just put in F1 so early, and then he showed his raw talent? Does the Lewis one show that he was put in a car that was capable of winning podiums for a long time? And are they really the GOATs? Or the GOATs, the Schumacher, who back in the day with only 14 races was able to, rack up so many wins,
I don't think he's in the GOAT conversation yet. It feels very Vettel-esque. Like when Vettel came in, he was all the things Max was. He was the youngest. He was the fastest. He won 4 back-to-back to back-to-back. And, he's in some GOAT conversations, but only the 4 championships, and he couldn't make it happen with Ferrari. Vettel will always be regarded as one of the best drivers of all time, but nowhere near the greatest of all time. With that said, Max looks like he has the potential. As long as he stays in a top team, he could match or beat any of Hamilton's records. But
Yeah.
between Schumacher and Hamilton, I like your point. I never heard that before. Is that Schumacher literally had less races to get
Yeah.
more wins than Hamilton. If you look at winning percentage, I think they're very close, Hamilton and Schumacher.
Yeah.
So that's only the real reason why Schumacher is still there in the best of all time, even though statistically Hamilton has the lead on a lot of the records.
Yeah, and for a long time, even throughout, this new era within younger drivers, even when, Lewis was consistently winning races, he had so many championships in a row. I think he won, what was it, 4 consecutive or 5 consecutive championships?
4. Yep.
So even when he was doing all that, it took him a long time to break those Schumacher records. It wasn't overnight, and I think it just shows how good he really was. And I want to point out, sure, we're talking about these 3 drivers, but they're not the only ones that are in the GOAT conversation. I mean, a lot of people talk about Senna and what he could have done had he not, unfortunately died. There's Prost, there's Ascari, Fangio, you have Sir Jackie Stewart, you have Jim Clark. They're all in what I would consider this GOAT category. But at the end of the day, comes down to it, usually you're talking about Schumacher and Hamilton.
Yeah. You know what it actually is? So fundamentally, at the end of the day, it's a mostly unanswerable question because there's 2 ways to look at it. There's the statistical way, which is also sort of flawed, and there's also the opinionated way. You go to Brazil, you say who's the greatest driver of all time? It's Ayrton Senna. I mean, it's just that's just how it goes. Regionally based, based on opinion. But like even the statistics, just like you guys are mentioning, like Schumacher winning in less races or whatever compared to Lewis, or even looking back at Fangio, like the technology, I like to put the GOAT category into eras. Put it into a bracketed era depending on what era of Formula One we look at.
Love
we can
it.
look at it just like the same way as NASCAR. 1950s, the bootleggers, all them guys. Like, yeah, there was a guy, I mean, you got like Fireball Roberts, stuff like that, or Junior Johnson. Yeah, they were legendary back in the day. You put them up against maybe, I don't know, Kyle Larson or anything like that, they are getting whooped. It just depends on the era. That's how I like to see it. But I think he will achieve that status, if not he already has. I mean, it's incredible. 3 championships in a row. It's just, how are you not in
He's
the
made
talk,
his
at
mark.
least?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think whether at the end of the day and at the end of his career, because I'm as much as I hate it as a Max fan, he talks about it a lot. The end of his F1 career, he's spoken about it a lot. I don't want to be like Alonso being here at 42. At the end of the day, I think regardless of whether or not he's put in that GOAT category, he's made his mark to where everyone will talk about him for a long time.
Absolutely.
Just like we still talk about Senna, even though he won 3, right? And who knows what he could have done had he, like I said, not died. But we still talk about him. He made his mark on the sport, and I think Lewis, he's in that GOAT category, but he also made his mark on the sport in other ways, other than records, and Vettel, we talk about Vettel a lot. He's not on the grid anymore. Like Jason said, he's not necessarily in that GOAT category, in that GOAT conversation, but he made his mark, he made his mark on the sport, and he had his era, and yeah. So I guess that kind of wraps up that kind of conversation. We don't have too much time left, so I do want to get into some breaking news. Firstly, the Belgian Grand Prix was added to the calendar, extended their contract. Belgian Grand Prix, also known as Spa, until 2025.
Very good.
Which is very good, but that track has had so many injuries. It makes me so nervous, and I want to know what they're going to do to fix that, because I think it's risky, to be honest. I think you can change that corner without ruining the track. And many drivers have said it. We had a very young driver die this year, so just
And even looking back to Antoine Hubert and Juan Manuel Correa, only just recovered from his horrific injuries a few years ago, and I think he's in F2 right now.
Yeah, he is.
Modifications, A Rouge and Ready on such iconic F1 corner. I think they could keep it, but if you make the turns sharper, maybe that'll help slow down the cars through
Yeah.
there. What do you guys think?
What about like just extending that wall? Like extend the wall and make it nothing but like it's not like guardrail. I'm saying like just padding, like not change the corner itself, but where the corner ends up to. Like if I'm
More
drawing it,
runoff.
we're going up the hill, we make our right
Added
here.
some, I think.
Right here in that little bubble, right where the turn hits its apex, just almost make it like a plush wall, like a Care Bear type thing. Like make it as
Yeah.
soft as possible. That's I mean, because it's just hard.
That
You don't,
idea.
yeah, you don't want to
You
change
don't
something that's
use the
legendary,
DNA.
obviously. But it's like
Yeah.
when you have these many
What do
young
we think
drivers
about
dying.
gravel?
Gravel.
Ooh, no.
But my problem is
I
that
think
they're
that's
going
the word.
uphill. You know what I mean? So like if you are going uphill at that speed, you hit gravel. I don't know about arrow wise or anything like that, but I feel like you have less of a chance of slowing the car down because you're going up. The car's wanting to go up. I get. I don't know if I'm
And
I'm
you're just
talking
gonna
out of
skid
my
up along the top. You're not
yeah.
even
That's kind of what
gonna.
I was thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Speaking of, I actually wanted to quickly mention, because I know, Jason, you mentioned Juan Manuel Correa. Very interesting, and I don't want to call it a fun fact because I don't think it's fun at all, but he had to sign papers in Belgium saying that he was legally responsible and he was taking fault for killing Antoine in that crash. Like legally, there's a piece of paper somewhere in a police department in Belgium or federally or whatever that says it was my fault. It was involuntary. I didn't mean to kill him, but I killed him. And I think that's horrible. I mean, he was laying in, he tells a story on one of the podcasts he was on last year. He's laying in a hospital bed, unsure if he himself is going to make it, what's going to happen. And they're like, we need you to sign this paper that says you're at fault for this accident. And it's
that's
heartbreaking, And I want to give huge props to him because he's back in Formula 2. He's back racing, and he was back racing before he was ready. He was like, I was in pain still, but I was there because I knew that I couldn't wait another season. So I just think it's incredible, and I think he's great.
that is some
Hopefully he
morbid
gets a
stuff,
chance.
though. Holy jeez.
That's why I said I didn't want to call it a fun fact, but
No,
Yeah.
it's an interesting fact. Let's call
for
it that.
sure.
It's
Dang.
definitely liability with this speed. Like, so the family of Hubert can't like sue
For
Spa, the circuit. Like, they're probably not gonna sue Juan Manuel Correa. They would sue the circuit maybe.
Yeah.
So if Correa took responsibility, you null all that out. I don't know, total guess here, but yeah,
It could
tragic
be.
situation
It
either
could be.
way.
Yeah.
Right before we sign on, because we are getting close to that time limit, I want to talk about Checo. We talk a lot about Checo on this podcast, but there's been
Checo.
a lot of retirement rumors. There was a Reddit post that originated on Reddit and spread to all social media saying that he was booted out from the team and that he was going to announce his retirement in Mexico. Since then, Red Bull sources have come out or supposedly come out and said that they've given Checo an ultimatum. You finish second in the championship or out. And Checo's team has commented saying nothing of the sort. None of this has happened. He has a drive, as well as Checo doing an interview saying he still plans to be in F1 for 3 to 4 more years, and next year is his crucial year. It's a lot of mixed feelings, a lot of mixed emotions. Seems like everybody is not on the same page within that team. But I want to get you guys' thoughts on Checo retirement, that second Red Bull seat.
Yeah, I mean, I fully don't believe he's going to retire within the year. I fully believe he has that seat, but it is getting like we hammer away at it. It's unacceptable the performance wise. But if that statement, I understand. I fully believe it's not true. Hey, you better be P2 or else you're getting this hand. Like, it's crazy. I mean, I can just imagine like him and like Helmut Marko just kind of like in a room, just like one dangling light, just like, hey, better pick it up, big guy. But yeah, so I fully believe that he's going to be with Red Bull for next year, locked in, absolutely. But just like you said and how he said, it's a crucial year. Next year, absolutely. There needs to be a turnaround. 3 to 4 years, though, I mean, he could do a Bottas thing. He could go sign on with another team, like just kind of like, not putt around, but just kind of stick around on a more subpar team, just enjoy and just try and get some
And he
experience
brings
for
the
some younger
sponsorship
guys.
money too.
Yeah, I was gonna
Perez
say,
is,
yep.
he has Telmex. He's basically a paid driver. He brings a lot of money with him. And I'm sure a team like Haas or Williams would gladly take a paid
100.
driver of Perez's caliber
Yep.
right into the team.
Yeah,
Yep.
because
As
even
long as
if
it
you
helps
think about
part of the track.
Yeah, even if you think about it, if they pay him super little, I mean, if he's there, just you and Haas, you're not going to be making more than maybe $2 million a year. It's still going to make money for the team, because even if he's there for 2 years, making $2 million, which is more than they're paying their current drivers, he's going to bring in a lot more than $2 million in, whether that be sponsorships, whether that be merchandise, whether that, all the advertising stuff on the PR end. Definitely. My whole thing is, regardless of whether or not the stuff that's come out is true, what are you like? Who is replacing him in that seat? Like, say it's true and he gets the boot. I don't think Daniel, like, as much as I love Daniel and I love Daniel and Max, I don't think he's ready for that seat. I think he needs to ease back into Formula One. I also don't think Liam deserves that seat, as much as we talked about how good he did with his chance in Formula One. I don't think he deserves it. I don't think Yuki's ready for it. I mean,
Yep.
Perez crashed 3 times in one race. Can you imagine if you had Yuki in the car? So, and I hate to diss on Yuki, but it does happen a lot,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a very complicated situation, in my opinion. I don't have anything else. If anybody wants to add anything, any news that I may have missed.
I gotta say, Red Bull has rifled through their junior drivers. They went, once Ricardo left, they went from Gasly to Albon to Perez, and then they barely had anybody to fill in at AlphaTauri. So now you have De Vries, who wasn't even Red Bull driver before that, and then Ricardo, which again, I think he could go back to the Red Bull and be fine. I think he's the favorite right now if for some reason Perez leaves. And we've seen Red Bull cut contracts short like that, like Gasly, they cut short. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, and speaking of AlphaTauri, they have announced that they've chosen a new identity for next year. The rumors were Adidas and Hugo Boss were competing to rebrand the team. So I hope it's Adidas. I like the sound of Adidas Formula One team, but I guess we'll see.
It would be cool.
I think it's very possible that one of those two companies have taken the first name and that there's a second added name. So I think I mentioned this before, like Adidas something F1 team. I think it's very possible. Actually, I do quickly want to mention before I forget, things are on the rocks at Red Bull in general, because we did hear a lot of rumors about Helmut Marko. He had those comments that he made, those racial or stereotype comments that nobody was a fan of. But Red Bull, he's not an employee of Red Bull, racing. He's not inside that team. He's like an external consultant. So they didn't really address it, but it seems like, there might be some issues there also between himself and Christian wanting to take full control of the team after the death of Dietrich Mateschitz, and, Helmut being in control of the drivers program. So the junior drivers,
Yeah, it's a lot of butting heads. A lot of corporate
100%.
butting heads.
A lot of people are trying to take a lot of power.
Oh,
but anyway, I think that is it for this week's episode of Lights Out Latest. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week after the Austin Grand Prix, hopefully with some exclusive insights, as I will be at the race. And hopefully you guys will get to see some of that footage from there as well.
Absolutely. Jason and I are totally not infinitely jealous, but these things happen.
Make sure you take some
photos.
Post them up on the Instagram, the TikTok. Make sure you'll follow.
I'm sure we'll be seeing it. I'm sure we will.
Yeah, guys, stay tuned to the Lights Out Latest Instagram, TikTok. I will be posting photos while I'm on the track, and hopefully getting some interviews or something like that with some of the fans there, so you guys can get some exclusive footage.
All right.
Anyways, bye guys.
Adios.
Thanks for watching.